Live from Lagos, Tosin Olasende, the economic geek, Yemisi Adesoya, Yemkolo, Tunji Andrews, Mr. Fresh. This is Business Unusual.
Welcome to Business Unusual, the show that crunches the numbers on trending business issues. And here with me are my co-anchors, Yemisi and Tunji. Let's take a look at the hot topics. Lagos power plant attains 85% capacity utilization. Subsidy payment takes 10% of Nigeria's 2015 budget and the different elements of MPR. So, Egwin power plant is at 85% capacity utilization. That was from 50% in the not too far distance.
I mean, the company seems to have spent about 46 billion naira since 2013 in bringing it up to 85% capacity, and the general goal of the company is to get 100% capacity.
Yeah.
I mean, that is fantastic for entrepreneurs who definitely, because EGBI is actually Nigeria's biggest genco that's generating plant, and they contribute about, say, maybe 25% of what the entire
1,100 megawatts.
So the question really that EGMI has to answer is that even if you get to 100% capacity, can TCN take it?
Yes.
I mean, because TCN does have a cap which is under 5,000. So if EGMI ramps up capacity, all the other gencos ramp up capacity, how will they be able to get that power across to the disco? So
but the increase we're seeing now, how has that impacted businesses?
Exactly.
Oh, I mean, we also Twitter pictures. You know, people putting on Facebook showing refrigerators, freezers, frozen. I've had like things like that. Yeah, and you know, the general thing is that your business, if there's power, I mean, you don't get to spend so much on petrol. You don't get, you know, it just has a multiplier effect on your business.
Absolutely, it does. But now the question now is, how can we improve the current megawatt that we have now?
Well, good news also is that the managing director of TCN, that's the transmission company of Nigeria, did come out recently to say that we also understand that there is a problem, but we need about $1 billion every year until 2022, and we'll be able to ramp up capacity to about
$1 billion is a lot.
It is a lot.
Annually through 2020.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, we're trying to spend money on subsidy. We're trying to give out 5,000 naira monthly to people who are not working. So if we actually say we want to put this money into that area and know that we're going to get proper light in 2022, I think it's an investment.
I was actually going to talk about that subsidy. Yeah. I mean, the supplementary budget was passed a few days ago, and 574 billion naira was passed, and of course 522 of that went to subsidy payments. And in total, you see 5.2 trillion was passed in total for 2015 budget, and subsidy payment took 10%. I mean, I'm beginning to think that we need to prioritize.
Yeah.
We do not have the funds. It's high time we thought of what exactly do we need to do.
But then again, what is most important about this is that this appropriation is added to what was already on the 2015 budget. Now, this is not 2016. We're still trying to cater to
what's going to happen in the first quarter.
So what's going to happen in the first quarter of 2016?
To businesses.
I mean, guys, we're still in 2015 now. Yes, we have an expansionary budget for 2016, but still on the issue with the subsidy. The government has made it clear that they are not dropping it, even though we might think that that is the most feasible thing to do right now. This is the third round of fuel scarcity we're having. When the National Bureau of Statistics did the research earlier in the year, the average amount of fuel pump price was 118 naira in May, and you know how that boils down to inflation.
Exactly, that was what I was
But they are not going to drop it. So now the question is, how else can we then?
Why do you think they're not going to drop it? Because think about it, it's hurting businesses.
We can't
think of infrastructure. We can't think of the basic things that businesses need to supply.
Let's even stop and think about subsidy on its own. The marketers are complaining. We're not getting paid. The government is struggling to pay. You and I can't even get petrol. Now, this 85 naira, it's 7 naira we're talking about. It's only probably in Lagos and maybe Abuja.
Yes.
If you go to Ekiti or Shua, the rest is way higher. They're already paying all those prices. So, I mean, who really are we kidding? Let's let go of this thing.
Is it perhaps possible that we can manage the subsidy in such a way? Could they put in more controls in the subsidy itself that price could be dropped? If the government is saying that they do not want to take out the subsidy.
If you ask me, I think the solution is just kick it out.
Let it go.
Just let it go. Let it go. And let's face infrastructure.
Also, you know, the balance sheet or even the income statement of the average businesses, power takes up almost 25% of operational expenses. So for the SMEs and for the running of the operation, that cost needs to go down, and we need to start looking for ways to make that happen. No, I do not have petrol. My car is an empty.
If you remove subsidy, you will get petrol.
It also brings my mind to the fact that, okay, we're hearing that President Buhari is planning on meeting with President Xi Jinping of China in the sideline event in South Africa. But then we're hearing that planning on getting them to finance the rail projects that were abandoned, that were stalled, you know, and then they're thinking of getting them to commit about $20.3 billion of their own funds, because we can't boast of our funds.
Exactly. So now we're talking about infrastructure, talking about investment in infrastructure. I mean, last week we touched on the Monetary Policy Committee's decision about the drop of the NPR and also the drop of the CR, and that came with a condition to go into infrastructure. And yet again, like Yemisi said, we've seen an infrastructure plans with regards to the rail and all of that. I have my own view, but Tunji, what are your views on that?
Banks are on the belief that you can't. I mean, they really see it as an insult of some sort. Why do you tell me who to lend to?
Yes.
Who are you? I mean, you regulate who I sell dollars to. You basically regulate who my MDs are. Now you want to regulate who I can lend to.
But Tunji, if you can remember in September, they dropped the CRR from 31 to 25%. That was about 600 basis points. But they did not see that liquidity go into the sectors that they want to do. Yet again, they dropped it by another 500 basis points, hoping that it can be channeled into the real economy. I think that is what the government is trying to achieve now.
No doubt.
I know women look good, right? You know, when you're putting on makeup and all of that, you do not put on the final makeup before you put on the foundation now, do you?
Maybe not.
No, right?
Okay, so where are you going to?
What I'm going to is that with the CBN actually trying to speak about lending, you have to create the infrastructure for lending.
First.
Create the infrastructure, then they will lend. Because the idea is the bankers will tell you, I can lend to you if I know that I can always find you.
But then again, have you noticed that after this drop, we can see that the standing deposit facility, the SDF, is now at the same rate with the T-bills. That is making it unattractive, making lending to the real economy to be the target. That is cutting all the measures to ensure that
the right thing to do, because we need to boost obviously is probably what they're doing. But then, like you said, you need to put the right foot forward. You need to do the right things first, and then you can push the banks.
The banks should rather take lower interest.
The cost of lending is still there. These are things that factor into the real economy. Into lending.
But I guess now we sort of know the real issues. I can remember I've been following this story in a while, and even when I moved back, and everybody kept saying like the interest rates are really high. How can we drop the interest rate so that we can lend to the real economy? And surprisingly, nobody saw it coming. 200 basis points. It finally happened. It is here. And yet again, the same people who were saying that lend to the real economy are fighting back, saying that there is no infrastructure. It's a bit of a dicey situation.
No, because the truth about it is, let's be real about it. In the US, in Europe, you come out, try to get a credit. The person on the click of a button, he can tell your credit history. He knows what you're still owing your secondary school. He knows what you're still owing your university.
So now,
in Nigeria,
but isn't the BVN going to solve that?
The BVN is not meant to be that kind of. It's more in terms of security.
We should also think of bringing it back. Okay, so are we suggesting that everyday business, the SMEs, if you're in the real sector, the agriculture, the water sectors, the mineral resources, are we saying that go dust up your proposal and go present it to the bank? Does that mean you're going to get these funds?
But
it's still crippling.
It takes a while. There's a time lag between decisions and it hitting the market. So let's wait for the first quarter of 2016 and see if it works out. That is it. Thank you, guys. And that is all we have on the hot topics. After the break, we'll be discussing piracy and how it is one of the greatest challenges facing the Nigerian film industry, Nollywood. Do not go away.
5 fun facts.
Welcome back to Business Unusual. Every day we are seeing the Nigerian film industry evolve. Guys, what do you like about Nollywood and what would you like to see change?
Is she asking me? Because I don't know much about Nollywood.
Why not? Don't you watch it?
Would it be bad if I said I don't?
No, it's fine. It's your opinion.
Okay, I don't.
I actually do watch it, but sometimes when I'm done watching for like 2 minutes, I'm like, okay, so what did I learn? I feel like I want to see less movies and quality jobs.
I think I stopped watching Nollywood after State of Emergency. It's a movie that came out like 12, 15 years ago or so.
So what happened?
The promo says, there's this promo, the line, if you kill a civilian, it's a whole different ballgame. But if you kill an army general, it means war.
Then what happened?
Then we watch the movie. The army general comes into the movie and we're thinking, yes, the movie's about to start now. They kill the guy and we move on. And I'm like...
Then nothing happened.
But guys, how about the new kind of movies that we see now? Like your likes of your October 1st and all of that. There's been a change.
I think that's the word. There are good movies. We see 30 Days in Atlanta. There is a J. And if you can tell from the numbers, I mean, those are also our highest grossing movies so far. Yeah. So quality jobs, people want to see. But even there again, there is a place for people understanding that the industry is growing.
Yes.
You can't take the standard out there and then bring it into the standard here because I mean the amount.
I think it's taking too long. Though.
Yeah.
I think it's taking.
Is it taking too long?
Yeah.
Investment is not the same.
I mean, we've been making
though.
this excuse
guys,
for a while.
We'll deliberate more on it when we get into the interview. So Afrinolly has achieved in helping to curb piracy and be able to differentiate the channels, as it makes no sense for the pirates to have a hold on one's artistic material at its first point of entry. Our guest on the show today is Mr. Chike Maduegbuna.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys.
Let's come and sit.
I can sit here.
Yes, please.
Awesome.
That's your special seat.
Wow, special seat. Okay.
Although it just looks like ours.
Yeah.
It's really special. I can hold
Cool.
Is that okay? All right.
Yeah. Mr. Chike, thanks for joining us on the show.
No, it's my pleasure.
So
it's
now
my
my
pleasure.
question is this. I mean, you know, the issue of piracy is always being touted whenever we talk about the Nollywood industry. And I see that your company is trying to play a role here to curb it. So tell us about the value chain in that sector and how the piracy can be managed.
I think for us, it's about how we, help the producers. Because there's a lot of investment that go into making these productions. And oftentimes some of them lose the value of the product, in very little or no time. We have the numbers that show that there are lots of business going around. The Life Price Waterhouse report says that in Nigeria alone, we have about $4 billion, okay? But the point is, a large chunk of that money didn't come back to the producer, and that's where the problem lies, because the pirates get involved. It's not like there's no piracy in other parts of the world, but our own is more or less out in your face, so they are more or less taking over the business, So, and I think that's where whatever we can do to secure as much of the market for the producer, I think it's really worth it for our ecosystem.
Talking about money, though, I mean, you said just $4 billion. The industry is about $4 billion, and there's talk about the fact that the industry is worth a turnover of $250 million dollars every year. But looking at it, let's even start with the fact that it's Avatar was 280 million.
Production budget,
I mean, just production budget. So, but I want to know how much of that, cash flow does Afrinolly get to see in terms of plugging into the value chain?
Honestly, it's quite high, to be honest. The thing about our system, for instance, what we're actually focusing on right now in Afrinolly, it's not so much of the brick and mortar part of the industry. We're looking at the digital part of the industry. Because if you look at music, there was a time you consume music basically by CDs and stuff like that. The music business, there's more business in ringback tones and color tunes right now than there is in actually. And for us, that's where we think the movie industry should be moving to. And that's the essence of introducing Afrinolly Marketplace, so that people can afford to pay 100 naira to watch movies, and then pay 50 naira to watch short films and then TV series. What that does is that it makes the product, easier for people to access, and it's no longer something they consider as a financial decision. It's more like a utility decision. 50 naira, I can afford it. 100 naira, why go bother for
But then there's
pirates?
still the issue of the bandwidth. I mean, the availability of that. Can we afford to watch movies on our phones?
The files are compressed.
Especially when it's part 1, part 2.
No, but again, let's go back to that part 1, part 2. It's actually an economic model that was very conducive for even the VCD market, not even the DVD market. Because they can actually take one full movie and break it into part 1, 2, 3, and 4, because that's what the VCD market wants, and they can buy a 50 naira. That's different right now. But in terms of the bandwidth, I think it's improving. You know, I like the kind of war I see going on amongst the telcos now. You know, throwing a bandwidth at people at very good prices. Yeah. So it's affordable right now.
Yeah. Do you have any metrics that shows the viewership in Nigeria as against outside Nigeria?
Across it varies platform to platform. Okay, so if you're looking at those who watch online, you probably have more outside Nigeria than you have in Nigeria, because our primary consumption is actually DVD. Okay. But now that number is changing gradually, because we are now having a lot of Android devices into the market that are cheaper for people to, less than $100 devices. So people are buying more devices. So that number is equally growing. And the data, it's becoming available. And Wi-Fi, most people are, a lot of people move around with dongles in their pockets right now. Yeah. So they are creating their own Wi-Fi. They are creating their own Wi-Fi ecosystem.
The role that the government plays in enabling the sector. We've all heard about the intervention fund. Has Afrinolly benefited from this program? And if yes, is it effective?
Well, we haven't dealt with Nigerian government directly, but we've dealt with, say, Bank of Industry, which is a parastatal of the government. Yeah. And from our experience, their initiative is a fairly new initiative, so it's not part of the whole Project Art stuff that was done. You know, we didn't benefit from that, and maybe because they haven't finished the distribution side of that, that if it will still continue. But if you're looking at Bank of Industry intervention, yes, we are part of the studios, because what we've done is that we set up a studio to help reduce cost of production and then also increase quality of production. And they came to our studio, saw what we're doing, and they liked it, and they asked us to be part of the accredited studio. Okay. And they offered us an opportunity to finance some equipment. So they gave us 45 million naira to acquire equipment.
At what interest rate?
It's at 10%, actually.
So let's go and open our own.
Yeah, because that's quite low.
Well, the beautiful thing about that kind of intervention is that they are looking at the value chain. They are not actually looking at financing the production. Because most of the mistakes we've made in time past is financing content. When you finance content without looking at the value chain, that content can be sabotaged by piracy. True. And that whole money has gone down the drain.
We're beginning to see a lot of movie premiere, and those are things that we're gradually getting familiar to. We're used to going to the cinema and watching foreign movies, but now when you go, you find like 3 or 4 Nigerian movies amongst the 10.
Rather, yes.
So what I'm trying to say is, how does that impact what you are trying to do? I mean, for that, they've already taken that movie to the cinema, and then before they probably bring it to you. How does that impact your revenue?
It's perfect, actually, because we are more interested in seamless distribution channels. You know, we don't like this conflict, you know, and all this exclusivity thing that goes in sometimes. It doesn't benefit the producer, let's be honest. But we are looking at a situation where you can monetize across different channels and then have alternative streams of income. As a producer, you can then look at the lifeline of the asset and say, okay, over 18 to 2 years, I've been able to 18 months to 2 years, I've been able to make X amount of money to recover my investment.
I'm wondering, how many of these small businesses, small producers, have you been able to collaborate with? You did mention that you have a studio, you have a cinema, you know, and these are some of the, and eventually putting their content online.
I'm sure all of you have friends that have either in school or just graduated from film school in America and Europe or South Africa. And these guys are itching and willing to tell the African story, the Nigerian story. Now, the challenge they have is that they don't have any connecting point with Nollywood, as it were.
Yeah.
Because their training and their skills and their understanding of social media and the internet is quite different. But the old generation may not understand that. They may not know how to use those equipment, these new equipment, but they know how to tell the stories, the cultural nuances that drove the storylines. Okay. The guys were born in the cities, so they cannot even speak their local dialect.
Yeah.
Right. Let me take you.
But we need to bring the two together.
Let me take you. I can speak my local language. Let me take you up there, talking about the integration of the system and how the old generation needs to meet up with the new generation. How about the value and the relevance of a hub where the different people can come and consolidate, share resources, and and also having a good database that every other person can leverage on? Have we seen that in the market, and how can that happen?
We honestly, it's one of the reasons why Afrinolly came into play in this industry. By this time last year, that was a question we're asking ourselves. Today, we've been able to set up Afrinolly Space. Afrinolly Space is the first creative hub you have on the mainland. And the mainland, it's where you have 70% of our workforce. So if you're looking at collaboration, if you're looking at identifying the next generation of skillful people we're going to invest in, you need to have a place where they can come together and interface like a hub. So we've invested in a hub, and it's at Oregu. And it's open, people can engage, and we can actually identify and coordinate people. But we need more, to be honest, and we plan to make it available in other places.
So I guess the closing words for today is that we need more hubs, we need more collaboration, we need to consolidate on existing platforms. Yemisi, is there any other thing you want to add to?
I'm excited that I can pay 100 naira to watch it.
I'm just concerned about the 45 million naira, and we might be going to Oregu so that we can start our own.
So you also watch your 45 million there. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Chike, for joining us. Thank you, my co-anchors, Yemisi and Tunji. Thank you for joining us. This is Business Unusual, the show that crunches the numbers. See you next week.